school, and
I was in college, actually.
I was actually left for work.
and I went to school as normal that day.
Everything was great.
And my roommate woke me up kind of yelling like, hey, you know, check this out.
I saw on the news camera that there was an incident in New York City.
And it was probably around second period that we noticed the teachers were talking to each other.
Hey, you know, check this out. Come watch this. And we were watching, I forget what.
And it was no big deal because we thought just a plane crashed. And that's how the day started.
They were just talking about kind of, you know, they didn't know if it was an actual terrorist attack.
And we started to hear things here and there about planes and things like that.
And while we were watching it, shortly thereafter, the second plane hit. And that's when, like, everybody came to the realization this is not an accident. This is something that was done on purpose.
So once we found out that it was a true attack of the in the United States, being as an assistant principal in a school system, we had to become extremely nervous.
Not everybody had cell phones, so we were kind of, you know, like wondering if everybody was okay, or I know that my friend had, her dad worked up there, so she was worried and concerned, and there was a lot of emotion.
Like, I remember I walked to one of my classes, and obviously it ended up being canceled, but people were gathered around a TV in one of kind of the open areas in one of the, I think it was the Art Center, and it was just a lot of people watching what was happening as things kind of unfolded throughout the day.
No one had any idea of when the next attack was going to happen.
Eventually the plane hitting Pentagon and the plane hitting
World Trade Center was hit. We weren't sure where the next spot. And Philadelphia being so close, there was some talk that it was might be there as well. So it changed everything during that day because parents then started picking up their students, their kids from the offices, and we had to check IDs and we had to make sure everyone was calm because we had to share all this information with the staff. Staff were extremely upset, people were extremely nervous.
But a lot of people just watching TV in complete and total utter silence.
And from a morning of coming off of happiness to a mid-morning of absolute craziness.
Initially, the first couple of days is still kind of the shock of it all and kind of processing it.
I think after that we were all really concerned about traveling and going places and what could happen and when, and just being really skeptical about people in the world.
And then the next couple of weeks was like, what are we going to do to respond? But also just as far as day-to-day living as Americans, I think for the next several months to years, it was a lot of anxiety, like worried about terrorist attack, like on almost a daily basis.
Actually, we're still living with that aftermath 17 years later. Part of the reason why we have a lot of the protocols in the schools and the offices about security is that, you know, right afterwards we were very secure in what we were doing, the information that we were putting on the computers, the lack of maps that we used to have on our computer systems. We changed a lot that actually 17 years later we're still using because of that moment.
You know, fortunately, we haven't had, you know, anything on the scale of 9/11 recently, but for a good couple years, there was kind of that anxiety that something like that could happen again. Of course, it still can, but you know, it was something you felt every day.
We were all really worried about if we would go on our senior trip because we had to take a plane, and so it was just a lot all at once, and we just didn't know what was going to affect our lives.
I think we've taken a lot of action, both here and abroad, to try to prevent something like that from happening again.
It's not more prevention, but I think everyone's more aware. It's just all about awareness, and everyone knows that you have to be careful what's going on and look at your surroundings to make sure that we're all safe, and you're looking at other people to make sure that people are following the rules and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
I think we're all a lot more sensitive to the news and how it might affect our world and our country, and in some ways it's brought us together, in some ways it's torn us apart.